It's your boy Uncle Kev, the real Uncle Kev. Now we want to talk to you about why this Jonathan Majors verdict, trial and verdict is so interesting. You know, everybody, if you don't know Jonathan Majors, a Hollywood actor, he's been in a number of films. Most notably, he was added to Marvel and played Kang the Conqueror. It's my understanding he and the young lady that he was formerly involved with, I believe her name was Grace Jabari, started a relationship in the year of 2020. Brother should have known better and try to start something up during COVID. But they were seeing each other romantically, and they were out one night and using a private limousine service, which is such a New York thing. I mean, people don't know, but New York was like doing Uber and Lyft essentially back in the 90s. I remember traveling to New York on occasions to do talk shows from time to time. And it was always funny that, they had a limousine service come and just drive me around. And it really wasn't a unique thing. I learned after the first time not to feel special because everybody had a car, and I guess with the traffic and parking, uh, all of that, it makes sense. But it really was over the top. But I digress. But anyway, so uh, Jonathan and Grace are out. I'm gonna call them by their first names for the most part. They out on the night of the town. They in the car provided by the limousine service, and his cell phone goes off, and right there, that's major red flag, bro. I mean, why are you answering or taking text messages um under those circumstances? Beyond me. Somebody please reach out to this brother, bring him up on game. But he gets a text in the car, and I guess he opened a text message. I don't know if he got an iPhone or Android. But it might even have a Google phone. But he text message comes in to the extent of my understanding. Someone says, "I wish I was kissing you right now," and certainly that ain't something you want to receive while you're out with the woman who's supposed to be your girlfriend. And we all know, number one, he took the message. Number two, what it said, and he in the wrong place at the wrong time, with the wrong person. And he situated the phone in such a way that I presume, based upon what I've heard, she was able to see the message. And again, one of y'all pulled his. I think he's somewhere in his 30s or something, maybe mid 30s. So I mean, he ain't no young boy, but he certainly is not an older guy. One of you OGs out there, like myself, need to reach out to this young man and tell him, don't let her see the phone. Don't let her see the message. You ain't got to answer the messages. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it moving, bro. Until you get in a place, in a space where you can go through your phone and respond as needed, unless you was expecting an emergency text or somebody you thought had a multi-million-dollar picture deal that you were negotiating. They were gonna text you. I look, you just need to y'all bring this dude up on game. But anyway, Garland sees it, I presume, and we all know she went straight for the phone after that. And how she got the phone from him is, again, somebody takes dude to a sports store and let him buy some of them them grip enhancers, so he can sit there and enhance his grip. So he got enough strength in his hands where all that working out he was doing, he should have been doing some grip strengthening, because there ain't no way she should have been able to get that phone. I don't care how much scratching, they showed he sustained injuries himself and scratches to the hand, I believe, and on his neck, and um, even so, man, you got to have a vice grip on that phone. I mean, it just ain't no way. Y'all forgive me. I'm trying to overcome a cold, but bro, you got to do a better job. So, my understanding, they get into a confrontation, and a lot of people, the media and lawyers, love to embellish, oh, it was a violent confrontation or altercation. People love to use that word. And it's just, they got into a disagreement about the phone. And she tried to grab the phone out of his hands. He tried to keep the phone in his hands. And, and they did back and forth. And you could say they, slight tussle over the phone. But even that, people act like, they were in there. It was like Mortal Kombat while they was in the car. Come on, man. Y'all cut that out. And most of us have seen or at least heard of the infamous video now where he himself gets out of the car service, and he's I guess he's trying to get away from her, and of course she's following him out, and he picks her up and tries to put her back into the car about 3 times. It looks like, each time they were successful, but of course she stay in that car, bro. She's coming out. I don't know what his defense counsel argued, but they really should have said he was trying to protect her by doing so from the harm that could possibly occur to her if she stood out in the middle of that street. It's quite possible and highly probable that she could be hit by another car. So he's actually trying to, rescue this young lady from harm. But, and I'm going to get to that point. That's important because my understanding that they interpreted that action as, if nothing else, him assaulting her, which the jury, of course, we're going to get to that, found him not guilty on the intentional assault, which is a third-degree assault, which they really embellished this thing as domestic violence confrontation. He abused and attacked her, and I heard the press release of the district attorney's office. Like, come on, man, for real. And they were glad they could come to this young lady's protection and protect her and keep her safe from harm, from a pattern of abuse suffered at the hands of Mr. Major. It just was, I mean, come on, man. Y'all stop. So, and he putting her in the car, and then and likewise, he's trying to get away from her. And of course, come on, man, once she saw that phone, there was no stop. Don't stop, can't stop, won't stop. And he finally, although somewhat bizarre, rationally decided, let me go ahead and get the heck up out of here. So he is pushing her off of him, and I see he was pushing her off of him, brushing her away from him, and all that. And the man took off. The man was running like 12 years a slave through the streets of New York. All I could think about was Roots. He looked like LeVar Burton with an overcoat on, running down them streets. I was like, "Go, Kunta, go!" Before Kunta got turned into Toby. He crazy looking, but he trying to get away from this woman. Like they out there filming the second part of Get Out. It's like, and to her credit, I gotta get this woman credit. This girl in shape because he couldn't lose her. She was right on it. And again, y'all gotta forgive me. I got a cold, but she was right on him. So say what you want. The woman is fit. Um, and finally, the chase subsides, and so at some point, I'm not up on all the facts, but it appears that this girl was so fit, she went out and partied after all of that running. I mean, I gotta give her credit, man. I don't know if she's doing Peloton or whatever she's doing, Tybo or whatever. Give her fitness trainer. I mean, kudos to you. And this dude need to put that in his commercial and put that up on the internet because he really has done a wonderful job with this young lady. Um, she goes out and park, and she claims she was injured, hurt hand, a fractured finger, and all this other stuff. But clearly, you can see in the party videos, she was what wrong with that girl, man? She was going for it. And again, here's some things. Let me a little free advice, Mr. Major. No ring, no key. So why this woman had a key to your apartment is beyond me. Yeah, she a girlfriend, but no. Girlfriends get the right to buzz and come up. They don't get a key, bro. And not only did she have his key, but she up in the club with his credit card. Again, y'all help this brother, man. I mean, no, you know, or his debit card or whatever. She partied off of him, And, come on, bro, really, really. So he goes to get a hotel room. So she's out partying and texting and partying and texting and drinking and texting and texting and texting and drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking and texting and texting and texting. And we all know how that ends. That end up face forward in the pavement. Yeah, you know how that night was going to go. How she made it to his place, which I guess she at home, but it's another lesson he needs to learn. Uh, she's in his house and she passes out on the floor. Now, my understanding, she took hot sleeping pills. So if she took sleeping pills after all that alcohol she was drinking, I just, but, and in the midst of all that, my understanding, she was sending him hints that she was considering unaliving herself. Which y'all one of y'all, please take this dude under your wing, because I mean, bro, you fell for him. I mean, come on, man, that's old. That's an old trick. So she's on his closet floor, half naked. He gets home, and whether he had to check out of the hotel that he got now, he was sincerely concerned about her welfare, and he goes over there and checks her out. She's on the floor, and lo and behold, again, excuse me for the cold, but this dude calls the police. I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anybody to be insulted by what I'm saying, but you are rising to the top of the socioeconomic ladder in America. You have tremendous acting talent. He has been a part of recent blockbuster movies. So, I don't know how much money he was making off those movies, but it's my understanding that he at least had a pending deal with Marvel for about 20 million, which ain't bad. Ain't bad at all. But in spite of all that, brother, I don't care how many awards and accolades and how big your bank account gets. Those Black America. That got to be the first thing you think about when you decide to do anything. Like, I'm a hold up. I'm a black man in America. Let me really think about my next move. Like, he called the cops. Lo and behold, thank goodness his girlfriend is okay. And I'm not gonna say they revived her. I guess she woke up, and then predictably so, Jonathan Major gets arrested. Ah, that wasn't hard to predict, and that was very foreseeable. Oh, y'all need to, somebody, whoever got reached to these brothers. I mean, y'all need to talk to them, man. You know, help these brothers out. So I mean, really, 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 really. So he's off to jail, and now we get to the part of the story that I really want to address. And I'm gonna say this first before I get into the meat of this, and that is that my understanding at some point the young lady got arrested too because he had physical manifestations that would be suggestive of injuries that he sustained in an assault that was committed by her. And again, ain't hard to predict that the district attorney's office decided that they were not going to prosecute the case against her, but they went full throttle against him. Why is this trial and verdict so interesting? So, my understanding, he was facing 4 charges: assault third degree, which is an assault, an intentional act that results in physical injury to the victim. Very short and brief uh, definition of what I believe that statutory code states, but that's all you need. Ain't no need no depth analysis to try to impress you with all this legalese and stuff. That intentional act that resulted in physical injury, assault third. He also got charged with, and I didn't understand this, but I look, it's rough out here in these streets, man, in these justice streets. But uh they charged the man with aggravated harassment. Now I'm trying to figure out at what point did he harass this woman? Did he harass her by getting a text? Did he harass her by trying to get the phone back? Did he harass her by responding to her text messages all throughout her escapades at the club and back at the house before she completely passed out on his closet floor? I mean, what did he harass her by coming back to his place and calling the police? What part of this was harassment? Did he harass her by running down the street? I mean, was that harassment? You know, that caused this woman to have to run for blocks to chase him. That harassment? I don't know. But that, and the important elements of that is an intentional act that results in a knowing and resulted in physical injury to the recipient. Now, I done had some people aggravate me to death. And I guess mental anguish, emotional distress, and could be deemed a physical injury. I don't know if the harassment they're saying resulted in the injury she sustained to her hand or whatever else, but this has been, why is this verdict so interesting? I mean, why the trial and the verdict so interesting? Now he also got charged, and I want to point out that the media has really embellished this thing because these are not very serious charges in the jurisdiction in which I practice. These will be magistrate court offenses, municipal court offenses, generally punishable by no more than 30 days and or a fine. albeit these fines have escalated to almost a ridiculous amount down here. 30 something years ago, a fine of maybe $100 or something like that now could be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. A very minor offense. It's almost as if they're doing it for the money, but that's a story for a different day. And so he then gets lesser included offenses that he either got charged with or that was instructed to the jury. And that is that harassment second, no aggravation. And that's just an intentional act that results in annoyance. I mean, and I guess the annoyance is based upon the reasonable man standard. And for those of you who don't understand that proposition, that's just if a person who is deemed to be reasonable, who is the model person that standard is based on, that's a whole other story for a different day. But I'm sure you kind of can guess who that person is. It ain't Jonathan Majors. But for that to be deemed as a criminal act, like, my goodness. I mean, how do you not incur a criminal record in the state of New York, city of New York? All I got to do is engage in an act that can be deemed to be intentional and it results or causes you to be annoyed. I mean, my goodness, man. Excuse me. For real, y'all? You know, we live in the age of softness. But again, we go forward. And then finally, I will forever be shaking my head with this assault third degree minor offense. Now, this particular type of assault to me is kind of moronic because usually you're taught in law school that assault is an intentional act, but they have classified this as ain't even got to be intentional. All they got to be is reckless. So if you were reckless in the application of, I guess, a physical touching or possibly the possibility of a physical touching, if they deem that you did something that another onlooker who deems and has been deemed to be reasonable enough to be placed in a jury box and named as the finder of fact in your case, and that person like, well, he looked like he acted with a conscious disregard for that person's safety, and that's an assault. But wow, and if that results in physical injury, then to the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt, you deemed guilty. You know, and so my question is, I guess as a defense lawyer, you gotta look at first of all, was there a physical injury? And if there was a physical injury, was it the direct result of the act that the defendant allegedly engaged in that y'all are deeming to be reckless? I mean, you know, a rather person goes and gets injured later that night, you know, has nothing to do with that particular act. So I presume this man's defense attorney attacked that, but I don't know. I mean, and then and what do you deem reckless? Trying to put somebody back in a car? Did it be a reckless act? I mean, he picked her up and put her back in, but again, I don't know if he argued this, but he should have. I mean, as a man in America, you better argue that everything you do for the benefit of the woman you choose to be with. And so you are always acting in her best interest. Don't nobody give a damn about your best interest. You better be acting in her best interest at all times. under every set of circumstances, whether you deem you got a right not to or not. And so hopefully he said, I'm trying to make sure she was out of the middle of the middle of the street so she did not get hit. I wanted her to be safe. I'll take the hit, but certainly not her. Her life is invaluable. It's valuable. And there's no limit to the value of life. I mean, truck comes and flatten me out. I'm just another man, who's down for the count. We certainly don't want nothing to happen to this beautiful flower that's jumping out the car and jumping on me trying to grab my phone. But anyway, then finally, I would hope that his defense lawyers, and it's my understanding he didn't argue that. And it's kind of crazy, but he will argue that he got a right to exert reasonable force under the circumstances to regain possession of his property, or at least protect the loss of possession of his property, or both. And so, he's saying, I'm trying to make sure she doesn't. Everybody was using the word larceny, and larceny is it is a taking, but you talking about, and it depends, I don't, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, if jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and you're trying to permanently deprive this man, I don't know. Certainly you could say that, but she certainly was trying to deprive him. We know she wanted to go through that phone. And they want to go to that phone. They're gonna go through that phone. You got to do all you can do. At that point, it is what it is. I mean, you stop, drop, roll for possession of that phone, bro. Again, y'all, please mentor this young man. Help. I'm not saying he bought it on himself, but I'm saying somebody needs to take him to a seminar called Up on Game. So why is this important? You say, well, we talk about all that. Well, why is this so important? So, I mean, domestic violence, which was formerly known, like the artist formerly known as Prince, but formerly known as criminal domestic violence. Now, I guess domestic violence is a more expansive term, and it is, with the prosecution of the case, with the verdict that came down, it become even more expansive. And now one could suffer the consequences of being deemed as a domestic partner abuser for simply annoying the person. I mean, we got down here, intentionally engage in an act that results in annoying somebody. Now you are a domestic abuser. We walking this a slippery slope. I know this is a line you ain't supposed to walk on, and ain't nobody supposed to talk in any manner that would diminish, quote unquote, the stigma that accompanies a person being deemed to be domestically violent. But and then on top of that, we're going to expand that to say that an act that's not intended to cause harm, but wasn't engaged in intentionally, but recklessly, can now deem you to be a domestic abuser. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, you already made almost the indefensible even more indefensible, at least in court. And then the court of public opinion is far worse most times than the court of law, because I'm not saying in the application, because there's a lot of manipulation that goes on in court. Let's be honest. I mean, people focus on the win. But the consequences that occur when it comes out to the court of public opinion, the man lost his job for something that was completely unrelated to the job itself. He wasn't on the job. It's not related to the job. This is a private relationship, and now it's being deemed. You ask me, it kind of like knee jerkish with that. He had to go, be fired because nobody wanted to suffer the repercussions, or at least the company didn't want to suffer the backlash that could occur. If he starred in a movie which is about a fictitious character. Come on, man. Y'all, are we really there now? I mean, we've been there. It's like it's almost automatic. It's almost like as soon as you get accused of something, it's like that's it. He fired. I mean, it's like wait a minute, what? You know? And how do people operate with any kind of security in a climate like that? That's why this is so important. You know, again, this is a fine line. This is a slippery slope. Whatever kind of metaphorical phrase you want to come up with to describe this situation. Um, y'all move carefully out here. I may do a follow-up video to this, to get into the application of the law, just in general terms. You go to court as a defendant and you're facing a case like this. But just imagine Joe the plumber making $75,000 a year. You get accused of something like this after going out on the night of the time with your girlfriend, and you show them to work, and they tell you fired. Y'all be careful out there. This your boy, Kev.